Okay, welcome to another review by Bland Gaming, the most boring and technically inept channel on the internet. And we're in my home. We're probably not going to be interrupted by children or family members. There is a dog that's nearby, but he's sacked out. So hopefully, in the chill of this evening, we will be able to discuss Free League's newest product, Vaesen. Their newest setting, I should say. So first things first, I need to let you know, again, this is not a professional YouTube channel. I am not a professional YouTuber. I work 50 hours a week doing non-YouTube things. But that's all going to change in 4.5 years when I am able to retire. So, that being said, I don't claim to be the greatest reviewer, the greatest GM, or anything like that, but I will tell you I'm putting it here because apparently there was a comment on one of my other videos. I want to remind you all that I am, in fact, the #1 dad, the best dad ever. They don't give these to just anybody. They only give those to great fathers. And I would like to credit my parenting style to being a combination of Murray Goldberg and Homer Simpson, and that's what got me. So anyway, eat it. That's my trophy. It's not yours. Okay, so let's talk about Vaesen. I did the unboxing, as most of you have seen it before and everything, and it is just a beautiful book. I have read the main book cover to cover here. I backed the Kickstarter, but this is available for pre-order right now. It is a Free League game, and it uses the D6. I believe that I've always called it the Mutant Year Zero engine, and I believe that's the actual term for it. So let's talk about Vaesen. Oh, before we talk about Vaesen, since this is Bland Gaming, we got to talk about the drink of the day. Since it's almost my bedtime and everyone else is asleep, and we're talking about a 19th century game, I felt another old-fashioned was in order. I make mine with Buffalo Trace bourbon, so it's excellent. So first of all, let's give it the cheers already. Here's to Vaesen. So, excellent. Okay, so talking about Vaesen, maybe we ought to turn down my music there a little bit, you know. So I know I'm technically inept and everything, but I am trying to add a little bit more to the channel here. Now, my marketing wife has told me to keep these under 20 minutes, so I'm not going to get all long-winded with you. I'm not going to get too advanced into the rules. I'll kind of tell you what Vaesen's all about, what makes it different from other games, and what my final thoughts are. So let's go into it. Let's jump in really quick, okay? So Vaesen it takes place in the late 19th century in Scandinavia. So Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland are primarily where a lot of the adventures take place. Although there is definitely you're encouraged to really experience this culture. And this was one of the things I really liked about this game is because it's just not something that we in popular culture see a lot of and everything. Again, I live in the United States. I don't know, there are probably a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff that explore this time period in the Scandinavian nations themselves. However, this is something that's fairly new to me. So I'm a history buff. I got a history degree, and I love history. So this time period kind of won me over. And the fact is we really haven't seen anything like this yet. So, all right. So what's it about? So Vaesen is about the player characters are called what's called Thursday's Children. And what that means is that the premise behind it is that all of these supernatural entities and ghosts and spirits that are called Vaesen inhabit the world and inhabit Scandinavia. Now, the book's very specific, and it says that if you want to experiment into turning my music down a little bit, that's something that we can certainly do. Okay, so if you want to experiment into running a Vaesen campaign in other parts of the world, like, say, Great Britain or even the United States, it's certainly something that you could do. But one of the things I really liked about this was its Scandinavian setting. I thought it was just really cool. I can't wait to try it. That being said, it would not be very hard for you to play a English or a Scottish or a French character that lives here in Scandinavia in this way. A creative dungeon master and a creative player could certainly make that adjustment and make it happen. So anyway, so the idea is that Vaesen, they're these spirits and these creatures, and some of them are malevolent, and some of them can actually be helpful and what have you. So these spirits are all inhabiting the world, and they're unseen. Now, what's happening during the 19th century, the late 19th century in Scandinavia, is the coming of the Industrial Revolution, and it's the age of science, and mysticism is on its way out. And that's the primary part of the conflict here in this setting, is that the Vaesen are kind of being forced out into the rural areas and forced out of the cities and whatnot, and they're becoming angry and more mischievous, and they're causing more problems. Now, it is true that some of the Vaesen in the game, in the setting itself, are... they're not all necessarily evil, but it would not be Nordic horror if they were all kindly little sprites and elves and treants, and they, these are not the kind of things that are going to leave peppermint bark in your shoes and everything while you're asleep at night. If they did, there wouldn't be a lot of conflict in the game here. As a matter of fact, I am a huge fan of Call of Cthulhu and Lovecraft's writings, all the board games, things like that. I've been reading Lovecraft since I was 12 years old. And I'm also a huge fan of Free League, so for me, this game was just a no-brainer. So the players are what's called Thursday's children. And the Thursday's children are people that are born with a gift. They're born with the sight where they can actually see the action, the traces, and feel the presence of the Vaesen, which makes them ideal to confront them and to hunt them and what have you. So the players are part of a secret society that is called, I believe it's called the Society. And this society was something that has been around for hundreds of years, but and I'm really going to try and give as little spoilers as possible, but without getting too far into detail, the players actually, this society has grown in disrepair, and it hasn't been active and what have you. And so what happens is that the player characters, their party, gets summoned to a strange mansion and are recruited to, in essence, restart this society. And so what they do is the adventures are them traveling all around Scandinavia and investigating Vaesen and trying to solve mysteries and also prevent the Vaesens, from inflicting their calamities on humankind. And the city that is one of my viewers was kind enough to explain to me that Uppsala, during my unboxing, is an actual city in I think it's in Sweden. And that is the base of operations for the order. It's where this great mansion is, where the players start out and everything, where they have a lot of freedom. It's really kind of cool. There's a lot of freedom for how to maintain the grounds and what kind of a facility they want there at this new society, which they're basically rebuilding from the ground up. So let's talk about the stories here. The stories are all based around Vaesen. Now, when you're playing most of these games and everything, and you get like a creature when you're going through the monster portion of it and everything, the monsters are really designed for like random encounters and everything, and then eventually you'll wind up having some kind of big boss at the end of the story. Vaesen is not like that. Each one of these creatures that are listed here in the Vaesen portion of the book are the point of the entire plot. So it is so story driven, and dealing with the Vaesen is not just, okay, I'm going to splash holy water and get out my +5 holy avenger, and I'm going to cut it down and solve this problem by slashing at it, bashing it, or blowing it away. That's not how this game works. While Cthulhu is definitely horror and scary in the sense that, the professor that reads the Forbidden Tomb suddenly bursts open and everything, and as his gore is flying everywhere and cockroaches come scattering out of him and everything, that's more of the Lovecraftian type of horror. This horror is the subtle ghost stories and the stories of curses and the stories of hauntings and things like that. And it is very... Someone had commented somewhere that, this is kind of lighter and it's for younger, less mature and everything. And I was like, well, I'm reading some of these plot lines about some of these Vaesen, like leading children to be drowned into rivers and things like that, and it's very mature themes as far as that go. It's not graphic per se, but it's very disturbing content, which is wonderful. That is the scary element of it, is this is the kind of game when you're playing this game, at the end of your sessions and stuff, you're going to be looking in your mirror, brushing your teeth before you go to bed and wondering, is there something behind you in the mirror? It's going to cause you to look over your shoulder and what have you. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. And the thing that is very, very cool is each one of these Vaesen has unique abilities and unique story arcs, and they have unique ways that they have to be dealt with. And I'm not going to talk about them because I don't want to ruin any potential any potential adventures for you. If you are a player and I only GM, but if you're a player and you wind up picking up this book, do not read through the Vaesen section. It's filled with spoilers, and it's going to tell you how to dispel them or how to placate them or how to get rid of them or how to befriend them and everything. And you don't want that kind of spoiler on you. So, there is a fear mechanic in Vaesen. Vaesen is very story-driven as far as the way its adventures are written, and it is very rules-light. I think the only Free League title I've played that is lighter on the rules is the Tales from the Loop. And that is a good thing. For me, I absolutely love story-driven role-playing games. I prefer them opposed to... I want to be careful I don't give you too many spoilers and everything. But I prefer story-driven role-playing games as opposed to stat-driven and miniature-based combat, things like that. I've said that 1,000 times. So Vaesen is right up my alley. I really liked how story-driven it is. And of the Free League games, I will tell you that it is more story, less light rules. There are rules. There is combat. There are challenges. There's conflict. There's a very cool fear mechanic in it. Much like a lot of the other Mutant Year Zero games, what you'll have is you have conditions in this game, which again reminded me a lot of Tales from the Loop, where you get a condition, whether it's and I'm spitballing here off the top of my head from what I remember, but if you're confused, angry, scared, winded, whatever, you have these condition boxes on your character sheet, and thanks to our backers, and I'm not on here. What happened? I've looked on here, and my name's not on here. Ah! Okay. Anyway, so here's our character sheet, and so you have these conditions here, and every time you get hit by something or what have you, then you go ahead and check off one of the condition boxes. And there's mental trauma here, and then there's also physical trauma. So it depends on what kind of challenge you're facing. Once all of these, when all the physical ones are checked or all of the mental ones are checked, then your character, if they take one more physical damage or one more mental damage, they become broken. If you become broken, then you roll on a critical injury table. And the critical injury table is, it can be anything from instant death to whitened hair, so it's very creative. The fear mechanic. So, and I told you I wasn't going to get into the rules, and I can see we're at 14 minutes here. So let's kind of wrap it up here. But the fear mechanic, the way that works is each creature has a fear. It has a fear stat that's added to it. So what you would do is you get to roll one of your 4 main stats here. And I'm assuming most of you have some sort of a familiarization with the year 0, so I'm trying to tell you what's different about this. So you'd roll either your logic or your empathy. You choose which one, whether you're choosing your brain or your heart to kind of your kind of willpower to overcome the fear. And you roll, and if you get as many successes as there are as whatever the creature's fear is then you pass it, and you kind of take a swallow, and then you move on. If you miss it, then your character becomes terrified. And if you become terrified, you roll 1d6 to see how many rounds you're terrified. And then what's really cool about this was, and I want to try and find the table here. It's probably easier to find in the, I bet you it's in the, wait, I think it's closer. There we go. Yeah. So when you become terrified, you choose what you're going to do. And this is really, come on, metagamers, knock it off, okay? Don't choose the one that is the least critical. Choose what you think your character would do. Randomly attack the nearest hostile person or creature, faint, freeze, or flee. And you choose how long, and you roll a 6-sided die, and so you're going to do that from 1 to 6 rounds, but you get to act it out. You get to play it out rather than the GM telling you, hey, this is what you do. You get to decide, and you get to play it out. Now, that being said, as a GM, I got to tell you, you got to choose. Again, you got to stay away from your metagaming players. You got to stay away from your players that are all into treasure and stuff like that. There is advancement in this. There's talent advancement. And then there's a very cool mechanic as far as upgrading the mansion and the facility. And you use your quasi experience points, what have you, to upgrade the mansion and to get certain benefits for each of your missions and everything. But this is not a game. This is a game where you're playing it for the story. You're not playing it to become level 43 and get the dragon's gold and everything. This is the game where you're trying to figure out where all the villagers' children are going and how to placate the angry dead grandmother who was murdered by her son and everything, so she no longer curses the other innocent members of the family and stuff. And the stories and the examples of stories in the Vaesen are extremely well written, very creepy, very disturbing. I really like that. Again, there is combat, but the combat with the Vaesen, most of the Vaesen in here cannot be overcome by just shooting, blasting, swinging, crushing it. You have to, you can certainly fight a lot of them, but you can't truly get rid of them unless you follow a very strict story arc and everything. And it can be, it could be anything like finding the body of the restless spirit and giving it a proper burial or what have you, or I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it's very well thought out and really cool stuff. So really quick, I want to talk about the other stuff that you can get. I love the map, but again, I'm biased because I love maps. The map of the city of Uppsala is cool because not only is it your base of operations, but there's a lot of potential stories that you could have locally just right there, especially when you're just getting started. The Mythic North map is absolutely magnificent. And if I zoom in on it here, you get to see just all the little towns and stuff that are listed here are just really, really cool. And it brings the Scandinavian setting here to life. Again, I'm biased. I always say take the... I always say, hey, grab the screen. The screen's very useful. It has the stats here, has a list of the actions, much like the other Free League titles and everything. So it's very useful, and it's obviously it's very beautiful. We've got ourselves a swamp witch or something like that on the front of it and everything. It's got this stylized, beautiful art. Oh, and I've talked about it in the unboxing, but the quality of the page, it's got this kind of rough texture to it. It's got the bookmark in it that's very old school. I really like that. My understanding is that you cannot order this yet, but it will be made available to you. There are 4 adventures in this one. I am not done reading this. I'm about halfway through reading the first one. Well, no, I'm almost done with reading the first one, and it's very good. I like these adventures. Normally with the stories that I read and everything, I like making up a lot of my own stories. I definitely like making up my own campaigns, and I find a lot of the times a lot of these written ones are really good meat and potatoes, but I love adding a lot of what I call the gravy, where I personalize it to my players and stuff like that. These are probably the best shake and bake adventures I think I've seen since far be it from me to praise a non-Free League product, but the Call of Cthulhu adventures are really just right out of the box. They're ready to go. They're very well written, and I think that's the case here. So listen, we are at 21 minutes. I violated the marketing rules here, so I am going to go ahead and bring it to a close and tell you that Vaesen is an excellent horror role-playing game, and it is scary, bump in the dark, ghost story, family curse type of horror. It is not bloody, gory, the ghouls that tear people apart, scary. Although there is death and there is danger and what have you, but not so much like the Lovecraftian one. It definitely makes a mark on its own and everything. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching. If you have picked up Vaesen and you have thoughts and you have your own opinions, I love to hear them in the comments and everything. Thanks very much for watching, and I'm going to finish my old-fashioned and go to bed. So again, this is Bland Gaming. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to finish my old-fashioned, and I'm going to take my greatest dad ever trophy and put it on the nightstand while I sleep and know how great of a dad I am and everything. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to make some more videos here real soon, and hopefully I'll keep you guys busy. In the meantime, everybody stay healthy and maintain that social distance. Good night.